Hey there, kiddos, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank, hoping that you are having a great day. And in today's video, I just want to say, before we begin, this is definitely going to be a more negative video, I think. I have just finished kind of organizing my thoughts on something, and they aren't very positive thoughts, but I feel like I should put them out there, even though I do try to be more positive on this channel, just because I want to reiterate an opinion that I have held very strongly for a long time, and this particular subject just reinforces it. And that is, I am very much against video game remakes because, for the most part, I believe that game studios cannot be trusted to give game remakes the love and care they deserve in order to preserve the overall quality that those games initially had. And of course, you guys might have guessed, today I'm talking about the new Halo Campaign Evolved game, which is a remake of Halo Combat Evolved, one of the most important games of the millennium, in my opinion. I don't think it's a understatement to claim that Halos 1, 2, and 3 were big deals when they were brand new. This franchise, those three games were hugely impactful on the not just the gaming scene, but culturally. You know, I remember people would take off their jobs for Halo 2 and Three's release. They just wouldn't show up at work because the new Halo games dropped and they had to play them. You know, they were so big that, you know, several of my coworkers at the time just took the entire weekend off to play Halo. Great stuff. And they were the buzz of the town in the early days of the internet, when sharing these cool Halo clips was all the rage, and showing off all the cool stunts you could do and exploring the maps. They were a big deal for quite a while, and so big a deal that they spawned this huge franchise that branched off into many, sometimes disappointing ways, but has nonetheless cultivated a fan base that has stuck by it for the most part for a very long time. And I personally believe that that loyalty is tested more often than it is rewarded, because Halo has not been in a great spot the last decade ish, in my opinion. I don't think that's an unfair thing to say, especially with the live action shows and the what games we did get, and now here we are with Halo Campaign Evolved, an Unreal Engine 5 video game. That's a major red flag right there, in my opinion. That, insofar as I'm concerned, really spits on Halo as it was, Halo Combat Evolved as it was. And this is a combination of small things, more so than any one glaring issue. But there are a bunch of things that are very clear to me, signal that this game is not a passion project by devs that love Halo and want to give it this glorious reimagining. Instead, this is most likely mandates from on high to get some money in the engine going. So they shit out a remake of Halo and add their nonsense slop to it to try and see if they can't drum up a few stacks of cash to keep the studio going a bit longer. So, yeah, Halo Studios is remake is not looking great to me, and I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to be giving you guys a full review of it, but I have seen quite a bit of it already. There's been quite a bit of chatter about it online. You can see lengthy videos showing you some interesting parts of the game, and that is to say, some small stuff. Character redesigns are always contentious, especially for Cortana, one of the most recognizable video game gals of all time, turning her basically ugly for no reason. Well, that's a sore spot for a lot of people. The atmosphere looks off. The overall vibe of the game looks worse. Dredgy, almost. You know, they added new characters and new enemies. Of course, everyone likes the brutes, so they threw the brutes in, from what I understand. But there's this new girl boss NPC who's super badass and talks down to fucking Master Chief at every opportunity. And that was clearly just there to own the chuds, so to speak, because, you know, Master Chief is kind of the most iconic, one of the most iconic video game male protagonists. He's like super Chadley McManly. He's up there with like Duke Nukem and Doom Guy and Link and shit like that. So, you know, they just want to throw a girl boss in to insult him and shit. That's always fun, isn't it? All the animations look slightly wrong. I watched some gameplay. I watched some slowed down reload animations that look like fucking dog shit, even though, from what I understand, these are supposed to be reused assets for a lot of the guns and the animations and such, and they managed to fuck it up. You know, there's no online competitive multiplayer, from what I can gather. The online co-op mode looks like a joke. Split screen co-op returns for this game, and it that would be a great thing, but I guess they wanted to fuck even that up too, because apparently both players need their own accounts. You can't just have one guy playing with his friend for some versions of the game. You have to have both players with an account in order to play split screen co-op. Let me run that by you again. Split screen co-op, which means you have another guy sitting here with you. Both those guys need an account to play the game. That's offensive. And of course, there's a bunch of added features, new areas, new missions, new weapons, enemies, etc. Or enemies. But all these changes are either superficial at best or offensive at worst. You know, like they moved skulls around, added some modifiers that you can get every 3 skulls or whatever. You know, new mission areas, new map, apparently. All that's well and good, except that it's all being stapled onto a game that was, in my opinion, already good from the start and just needed a faithful remake. Very rarely, do I believe, are video game remakes capable of being better than the original. Okay, very rarely does that happen. And because of that, I firmly believe that remakes should be taken cautiously and faithfully, to not be better than the original, but to give it the reverence it deserves. And this definitely fails that test. This is not, insofar as I'm concerned, this is not Resident Evil 4 remake, where I'm genuinely happy with everything that happened, all the new changes, all the mechanics and such that were improved for the remake. I like the Resident Evil 4 remake quite a lot, just so we're clear. No, instead, this feels more like a Resident Evil 3 remake, where I am, for the most part, very negative about it. And for this game to come out, a remake of a game that's been out for a bazillion years, this is the anniversary edition. I don't know where my original copy went off to. It's got to be around here somewhere. But, you know, Halo is a game that's existed for a very, very long time, okay? There are multitudes of ways to play this game, both on the Xbox and online, etc. I cannot see a reason to pick up a $70 fucking video game that is, for all intents and purposes, Halo Studios' fanfic remake of a game that Bungie perfected 20 plus years ago. 20-ish years ago, right? You know, it's not just that I don't like the changes. 343, they made changes, right? The anniversary edition was different. They made the changes to the graphics that not a lot of people liked. I personally wasn't too bothered by them. I was bothered by the multiplayer changes they did. Multiplayer for this is kind of a joke insofar as I'm concerned. But they made changes, but they made their best effort, I think, to try and keep the game faithful to its original vision, which is not the same here. And I'm sure that there's other changes made to Campaign Evolved that I'm just not aware of. Maybe a new boss or something, I don't fucking know. But for the most part, everything I've seen so far has me violently disinterested in making a purchase for this kind of game. And it just reinforces my idea that remakes are not necessary. Re-releases are what we need. If you want to get people drummed up and interested in paying more money for a game that already exists, just re-release it. Nintendo particularly suffers from this. You know, Nintendo doesn't like to republish a lot of the games that it's had on its older system, those old libraries. They'll give you digital versions on the Switch or whatever, but they won't re-release anything, which always annoys me. I'd like to see more physical re-releases of video games rather than shitty, updated, huge air quotes there, remakes that spit on the spirit of the original in a way that makes me someone who is quite fond of the first 3 Halo games. Maybe not so much the third one. I'm quite fond of Halo 1 and 2. Very much. And I'm not pleased to see some of the changes they've made. And I will not be buying this game. And after Tuesday, I think is when it launches, after Tuesday I won't be thinking about it at all either. And I can only hope that there is a future where a faithful and loving remake of one of the most important FPS games of all time will finally see the light of day. But this one ain't it. That's all I got to say. Anyway, like I said, thank you guys so much for watching. This was a much more negative video overall, just because I don't think I have anything positive to say, but I felt so strongly about it that I wanted to put it out there anyway. So, I'm Frank. These are my hobbies. Thank you guys so much for watching. Talk to you guys later. Ciao.